Joy, and welcome back to the channel. So I know I have this kind of cheery disposition right now. Really, I'm just, as I said, I am just kind of a happy, hyper personality. Just a lot of people haven't yet been able to see that on this channel, hoping I can change that. I wanted to cover this because I saw this in the news the other day and then it compiled on itself. And I was like, really? And unfortunately, what we're going to talk about is more and more and more common. And it's, you know what's hard? I don't even think that it's become more common. It's just we have more of awareness that this behavior that I'm going to point out is not okay. What am I talking about? So I'm talking about Shia LaBeouf. Quick side note before I begin. So most of you know who are watching. I'm back. I've been back for a while. I've been back to this channel for like a week-ish in total-ish with some space in between there. But check out the other videos and let me know what you think. I'm really interested to know. I've done a video about everybody's favorite Onion, kind of giving my last perspectives on that. I've done a couple videos recently on Trisha Paytas about her mental health issues with H3 and Ethan and how I think she and her mental health issues are very misunderstood. I've also done a couple videos about Dawson. You're gonna get a different opinion because you guys know me. I don't go with the popular narrative, but I would love to hear what you guys think. Check those videos out and tell me. Also, if you like this kind of content, make sure and subscribe and hit the notification button. Like the videos, comment. If you want to give me some support, just let me know what you think. I also have another channel, Stimulus News. I'm helping people with stimulus, so make sure and subscribe, Katie's Insight. So go subscribe and hit that notification button and that bell. If stimulus comes out in your area, I want you to be able to get it first, because typically you have to apply many times, and sometimes those programs are not quickly, and the first people to apply get it, and I want to make sure you're those people. Okay, on with the video. So Shia LaBeouf has been a really character. If you guys remember, he was on that Disney show, Even Stevens, and he grew really popular, and then from there, he did all different types of films, you know, big franchises, Transformers, you know, he's done all different types of stuff in Hollywood. He's a really known character and personality. But he's also he's kind of an oddball. I believe, if I remember correctly, he has some mental illness issues. Like, he's done some really interesting things. Like, one time he showed up on the red carpet with a bag on his head that said, "I'm not famous anymore." He held some kind of exposition for I think 3 or 4 days somewhere in Los Angeles, where you could stand in line and for a minute you could meet him and say or do whatever you wanted to him, and he just stood there and took it. He's a really interesting character. And what I'm going to talk about today is not about debating on his character or his oddities. It's about reports of who he is and what he's done in relationships. Okay, so what am I talking about? What am I referring to? So what we're going to talk about today is somebody named FKA Twigs. So FKA Twigs, she's an actress, she's a singer, she's a rapper. She is in her own right a well-known artist. And apparently they dated back in the day, and she is now suing him for, I'm going to say this so YouTube doesn't get mad at me, physically mistreating her. So I'm going to get the information I'm going to give you guys. I'm going to have to really edit, and I'm going to have to really kind of word roundabout, because YouTube is YouTube and I'm trying to be respectful within their rules. So try to infer things I'm saying. If you want more direct information, because you guys know me, I love being just super direct, then my suggestion would be to make sure and, you know, look up the story for yourself. But unfortunately, because it's YouTube, there's only so much they'll allow me to say. So with that being said as well, I'm going to try to actually throw some clips in there of some different things just to kind of make the video interesting. If you don't see them, it's because I'm not allowed to put them up. Just so you know, it's been a while since I've tried something like this, so I just thought I'd kind of, you know, explain that. But I kind of want to bring up some information for you guys so you have it. And this is something that I found on Yahoo Entertainment, and here it goes. So the headline reads, FKA Twigs, Shia LaBeouf of blank battery, relentless, physical, not goodness, is that a word? Inappropriateness, hurting, and disturbing lawsuit. I wish I could just say the words, guys. I'm so sorry. So, FKA Twigs is accusing Shia LaBeouf of blank battery, hurting your person physically, and inflicting of emotional distress in a troubling lawsuit filed Friday. She also claims LaBeouf knowingly gave her a disease that you get sometimes when you are being physical with a partner. Also, I want you guys to understand this blank battery is when somebody physically, typically men physically themselves on women. Please infer. I hate having to be this way. The 32-year-old musician, born Talia Debret Barnett. Oh, that's pretty. Talia Debret Barnett. I like that. Recounted the relentless physical she during their relationship in an interview with the New York Times. What I went through with Shia was the worst thing I've ever been through in the whole of my life, she said. I don't think people would ever think that it would happen to me, but I think that's the thing. It can happen to anybody. Guys, as women, we are so conditioned to believe that we're at fault for everything, that we are supposed to be nice all the time, don't hurt anybody's feelings. And not that those are bad traits, obviously, but it goes beyond that to the point when it comes to men, many times we will allow much more to happen than what we even think we will. I'm a perfect example of that. Barnett met LaBeouf, 34, in 2018 when she was cast in his most autobiographical film, Honey Boy. They dated for nearly a year. When the honeymoon phase wore off, she claims she was subjected to physical, emotional, and mental on multiple occasions. One incident from February 2019 is detailed in the lawsuit obtained by the Times. According to this article, Barnett and LaBeouf were in the desert where he raged at her throughout the trip, waking her up once in the middle of the night and putting physical around her neck. On the way back to Los Angeles, he began driving recklessly, removing his seatbelt and saying he was going to crash the vehicle unless she professes her love for him. After she begged to be let out of the car, she said he pulled over at a gas station and she took her bags from the trunk. But Mr. LaBeouf followed, and he physically went after her against a car while screaming in her face, according to the suit. He then her back into the car, the article states. After the incident, Barnett was discouraged to leave as it happened in public, and she said no one stepped in to help her. That's another thing. It's such an awkward situation. I know I was in a situation where I was having physical things happen to me, and sometimes, because the walls were really thin, we could hear the neighbors, this is so embarrassing to admit, we could hear the neighbors discussing whether or not they should do anything about it. And that's just them hearing through the wall. The fact that people saw it and did nothing. It's not right. It's not right. After the incident, Barnett was discouraged to leave as it happened in public, and she said no one stepped in to help her. An attempt she made to tell a colleague was dismissed. Happens all the time to women, guys. I just thought to myself, no one's ever going to believe me, she told the Times. I'm unconventional, and I'm a person of color who is female. Bing, bing, bing! There you go. Because not only are women not to be believed, if you're a minority woman, good luck. Good luck. Look at what R. Kelly got away with for so long, and look at how his community still stands by him. This is just a perfect example. A second former girlfriend of LaBeouf's also accused him of physical behavior in the lawsuit. Carolyn Foe, who dated the actor for 2 years, claimed he once pinned her to a bed and her, oh my gosh, causing her to bleed. So much goes into breaking down a man or woman to make them okay with a certain kind of treatment, the stylist told the Times. And that's why a lot of times people like this, when they do these things knowingly, and it's knowingly for control, they have certain people that they will pick. And a lot of times it's people from bad backgrounds, people who they already know because they know, oh, there's an in to be able to get in there and be able to break them down. So people who try to run away from bad relationships or situations at home life a lot of times fall into these same traps because those are the men that typically will be attracted to them for that reason. Oh, this planet's weird, y'all. A representative for LaBeouf did not immediately respond to Yahoo Entertainment's request for comment. However, the actor issued a statement via email to the Times. He said, "I'm not in any position to tell anyone how my behavior made them feel," he wrote. "I have no excuses for my only rationalizations. I have been," and he actually admits it, "I have been physically bad to myself and everyone around me for years. I have a history of hurting the people closest to me. I'm ashamed of that history, and I'm sorry to those I hurt. There is nothing more I can really say." I had to tell you, I'm really glad that at least he's owning up. At least he's, it doesn't excuse it, but at least he's owning up. When asked to comment on specific made by the women, he replied that many are not true. Well, there you go. He added that he owes them the opportunity to air their statement publicly and accept accountability for the things I have done. Well, here's my thing. If you were and you had substance issues, I'm sure that there were times that impaired your memory. So how do you remember a lot of the things that happened? And I believe, if I remember right, I've seen different things where he has said that in the past he can be a, and if that's the case, how can you really say that some of these things aren't true? Maybe, and and you know what? Maybe he's deflecting. Maybe he's not. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Maybe he just doesn't remember. Just a thought. Just a thought. So it says, LaBeouf noted that he was a sober member of the 12-step program and in therapy. "I'm not cured of my PTSD and alcoholism," he wrote, "but I'm committed to doing what I need to do to and I will forever be sorry to the people that I may have harmed along the way." LaBeouf has been arrested multiple times and has been in the press for unsettling behavior. In October, he was charged with misdemeanor battery and petty theft after allegedly stealing a man's hat in Los Angeles. In 2017, he was arrested for public disorderly conduct and obstruction. It was his second arrest that year. The Transformer star was caught on tape in 2015, putting in a position his ex-wife, Mia Goth, a bad position, saying he would, after they got into a heated argument. So I want you guys to understand this is a pattern that this person has with the females around them. And you know what's really frustrating? Do you know why it happens? I understand he grew up in a bad situation. I get that, and I'm sympathetic. And he's got PTSD, and, you know, substance abuse issues. I can be sympathetic with that. But men do it to women because they know they can. They know they can physically overpower us. So they'll do it. And many times there's very little guilt. Because in our society, we have a society where we allow men to justify their bad behaviors. Again, hashtag not all men. If you're not one of those men, amen, and we're so glad to have you. Barnett Info detailed LaBeouf's controlling behavior in the lawsuit, claiming he didn't like it if they spoke to or looked at male waiters. Oh my gosh. Anybody else? Is this bringing back memories for anybody else who's been through this? Barnett told the Times she learned to keep her eyes down when men spoke to her, and that the actor had rules about how many times a day, she had to kiss and touch him. Wow. Barnett also described tactics LaBeouf used to isolate her from friends and family and her professional circle. I want to notate on this. One of my relationships, I started having ideas of not wanting to be on the planet that grew and grew because I felt like I couldn't be a person. This person was so insecure and so messed up that they would throw fits in public and embarrass me. And for instance, let me explain. So like here, I'm just going to give a for instance of something that happened. Went to an Olive Garden. We sat at the bar. I don't drink, but the person I was with liked to have drinks. So I would just sit there and entertain it. And so we're waiting for a table. The Olive Garden's so fancy. We're waiting for a table and the bartender starts talking to us and he just says a couple sentences to me. I say a couple to him, no big deal. He stormed out of there. He wanted to complain to the manager and not pay for the drinks. And he stormed out. And I believe that was the night that I was left at Walmart. He went to Walmart afterward, got mad, and left me there. That was a very common happenstance to just leave me in public to fend for myself. Knowing I didn't really have many alternatives at the time. So let me tell you what sparked this when we actually finally had the conversation, because it wouldn't just be these fits of behavior. It would then be I had to be somehow. There would be involved. I would be kicked out of the house. I'd be kicked out all night or for a portion of the day. Or I wouldn't be allowed to use the car to be able to go to the job where I paid for all the bills. Like, and unfortunately, my story is so common. Women go through this all the time. All the time. We've just been brainwashed to believe for so long that we deserve it. On some level, it's our fault. And society hasn't really set things up in a way that mentally helps us understand, because we constantly justify these behaviors from men. That's getting better over time, thank goodness. But let me tell you the kicker. The reason why I was in trouble was because the bartender was clearly flirting with me, and I should have not responded to him. And I said, how was I supposed to know the bartender was flirting with me? And he said, you should have picked up on it. And I said, well, I'm not telepathic. I mean, sometimes you can kind of know what somebody's thinking if you know them, like to an extent where you look over and you guys look at each other, you know what the other one's thinking, and like you have those, or you think about somebody and then they call, weird things like that. But I'm like, you expect me to be and this was still when I was, I was still a lot in the new age world. I was getting a lot more out of it, but I was like, you expect me to just constantly read people's minds? And that actually, I'm not kidding, that was an expectation of mine. And what I learned from that, it was like that, and there were several moments, guys, but that was one moment I remember that broke me down. And from there, I would not really interact with people when we went out. I would put my full attention on him. And it even happened with female waitresses, because female waitresses, sometimes they thought, well, they're being rude to me and they're putting all their attention on you. Why is she even not acknowledging me? Yet the fun part, he could be as charismatic and charming and flirtatious with anybody else that he wanted to. And nobody said, and he doesn't say boo about it. And I can't say anything. And it's funny because I'm not a jealous person, but I was mad at the hypocrisy. But then if I expressed that anger, it would be kicked out. Granted, that was a time where I was still learning to deal with my reactivity with my emotions. But yeah, it brings, sorry, this is a kind of sidetrack. It just brings back a lot of bad memories. I remember that. And I remember feeling so lonely and so isolated. There was a whole set of rules for me that I had to follow in our relationship, and he had almost zero rules. Aside from a couple, and those couple he ended up breaking, and that's when I realized, I was like, you are nothing of who you said you are, and I don't know why I gave you so much credence or thought in my head that you are a decent person. My point is to say, with this situation, that it's a lot of women, a lot of us experience this. And when I read this, it really shook me, because it was like, been there, done that. I know so many of you watching have as well. So it says, LaBeouf kept a loaded firearm by the bed. I've been through that one. Or as punishment, I had to sleep with it under my pillow. I had some fun stuff, according to the lawsuit. And Barnett claims she was scared to use the bathroom at night because he'd mistake her for an intruder and shoot her. Wow, I haven't gone through that one, girl. She also alleges he didn't let her wear clothing to bed. Wow. Now, the same guy was a lot more not completely controlling, but he was way more controlling. Like, he got really mad when I didn't want to wear makeup when we went out, like on dates and stuff. So just to appease him, and started to wear makeup. Like, I wasn't allowed to set any boundaries. Wow. And what's hard is if he had substance issues by listening to this, then you never know. And on top of that, the mental illness, the PTSD, you never know what frame of mind he's swinging in and where his mood swings. Just, that's so, poor girl. With the help of a therapist, Barnett began to plot her escape, which she said seemed both difficult and the word for not safe, according to the lawsuit. I just know certain words YouTube's going to be mad at, guys. That's why there's certain words you might be like, why are you roundabout against this? Because I know what they're going to get mad at. So, because I've had to do this so many times. During one attempt in spring 2019, she claims LaBeouf turned up unannounced and, according to a sworn statement from her housekeeper, who witnessed the incident. while Barnett wouldn't leave with him. The statement says he physically, in a hurtful way, picked her up and locked her in a room where he berated her. Been there. The whole time I was with him, I could have bought myself a business flight plane ticket back to my 4-story townhouse in London, she explained. But she didn't. He brought me so low below myself that the idea of leaving him and having to work myself back up just seemed impossible, she said. Barnett hopes that in coming forward, she can shed light on how physical can happen to anybody, no matter their status or their wealth. I'd like to be able to raise awareness on the tactics that people like this use to control you and take away your agency, she explained. Barnett said she plans to donate a significant portion of any monetary damages to domestic physical charities. The singer also took to Twitter, writing about her decision to speak out publicly and sharing several charities and organizations aimed at helping of this type of domestic issue, including Sister Space and National Domestic Physical Hotline. I wish I could say it. I'm sorry, guys. And Freeform. So I do want to read some tweets because I do think this information is important. Then the story's not over. You think this is wild, and it is. Story's not over, guys. She says, it may be surprising for you to learn that I was in an emotionally and physically relationship. It was hard for me to process too. During and after, I never thought something like that would happen to me. Which is why I've decided it's more important for me to talk about it and try to help people understand that when you are under the coercive control of somebody who's not physically nice, or that person is a partner and they are doing things to you in the relationship, leaving doesn't feel like a safe or achievable option. Oh, she's speaking to me. I hope that by sharing my experience, I can truly help others feel like they are not alone and shed light on how those who are worried somebody they care about may be in a bad relationship can help, because I understand it can be a confusing and hard situation to know what to do. The statistics on domestically, partner, physical relationships are shocking, and during COVID, I have been really anxious because I know many will have been literally trapped with their people who do physics to them with no relief or way to get out. That's something I will tell you guys, and I'm sure a lot of women feel this way, a lot of people. I've been really worried about the people who are in trapped relationships. Wow, very, very concerned about that. My second worst nightmare is being to share with the world that I'm a survivor of domestic. My first worst nightmare is not telling anybody and knowing that I could have helped even just one person by sharing my story. And then she gives the organizations she works with at Free From org. It's free from, I guess. And then at NDVH and at Sista, SISTAH_space. Now, that might sound like kind of a wild ride, right? And it is. And I'm so glad she's overcome that. And here's the thing, like in my situation, there was nowhere to go. For many women, we have nowhere to go when this happens. There's no family to help. There's either no friends because your friends have all been distanced, cut off, or, you know, what have you, or your friends aren't in the position to help you. She was able to get out, and she just, when you get broken down so hard and so far, it psychologically messes you up to believe you are nothing and you are just going to continue to be nothing. I cannot explain. And the thing is, people like this, it happens over time. It's a gradual process of chipping away chunks at you till you realize, oh my gosh, I've got half a body. I don't even have it within me to get up and walk out. And then here's the other thing, because I've heard this misconception before, and it really bothers me from men who've never been in this situation. And again, a lot of men are still just in a very space because the world is set up for them. So they don't understand. And they'll say, there's no excuse for a woman to stay. There is none. I don't want to hear it. She needs to just get over it and move on. Get up and walk out. If you have to crawl out. Find a solution. Whew. Hello, Mr. Men who think that way. And by the way, hashtag not all men. If you are one of those people, we are so happy to have you. We need more like you. There isn't just a mental and emotional toll. When you go through that type of mental and emotional issue, it actually affects you physically. The levels of stress, the amount of cortisol that floods your system, there are all kinds of things that can happen. And for somebody like me who already had a predisposition and genetic issues with dysautonomia and POTS and flare-ups, that's a heart condition, neurological condition, I could get so stressed that I could barely move, and there was nobody to call me and help me. There was no energy to crawl out. And this was the kind of person that if I tried to leave and something happened, let's say halfway through leaving I black out, they're gonna leave me there. That is not a joke. That is not an exaggeration. It is not always feasible, and you never know what's happening with somebody, or what if she has children and she's worried the children are gonna get hurt. There are so many instances. By the way, sound off in the comments. Katie Holmes, why is Tom Cruise still doing what he does without owning up to what happened there? Do you guys remember that 2012? I'd like to detail that. Let me know if you would be interested. The fact that she kind of had to escape both Tom Cruise and Scientology in a covert way. But this story doesn't end. It's not over yet, guys. And the reason I decided to do this, I saw the story and I was like, I'd like to cover this at some point. I just don't know when. And then boom, here comes Sia. If you guys remember, I believe it was in like 2015, she and Shia LaBeouf did a music video together with that cute little Maddie dancer. I love that little Maddie girl. They did a video together and she worked with him. So Sia is speaking up. And here's the thing, I don't know much about FKA Twigs, and I'm not saying I don't believe her at all. I don't know much about her. I do know more about Sia as an artist. And when I hear her speak up about this, my ears perk up. And I'm like, yes, girl. I'm like, it just adds to more credibility. Not that I'm saying FKA Twigs, I can never say her name. Not that she shouldn't already have credibility. I'm saying it just adds more to it. It says, Sia calls Shia LaBeouf a pathological liar who conned me into an relationship. It says Australian singer and songwriter Sia says she was manipulated into an affair with actor Shia LaBeouf and is advising other women to stay away from the actor. Sia has come in the wake of a bombshell New York Times article, like you guys just heard, that revealed singer FKA Twigs, born Talia Debritt Barnett, is suing LaBeouf, 34, for relentless physical during the relationship, which began in 2018. Sia says, I too have been hurt emotionally by Shia, a pathological liar, who conned me into an relationship claiming to be single. The singer tweeted on Saturday, I believe he's very sick and have compassion for him. And his just know, if you love yourself, stay safe, stay away. And she tweeted this out, and she tweeted out the article, and it says, in a follow-up tweet, Sia solidified her support for Barnett. Also, I love you, FKA Twigs. This is very courageous, and I'm very proud of you, she added. I love sisters giving love to one another. Love that. So it says, Sia did not provide more details about her relationship with LaBeouf, who appeared in her 2015 music video for Elastic Heart. LaBeouf wed Mia Goth in 2016, but the couple ultimately divorced in 2018. Sia's claims came just one day after the New York Times article, which FKA Twigs spoke out on her lawsuit and detailed her of the physical relationship with LaBeouf, which she calls the worst thing I've ever been through in my whole entire life. So, yeah. Did you hear that, guys? So I think in this, they named 4 people. They named Mia Goth, somebody he was formerly married to, FKA Twigs. There was another one in there. Forgive me. I forget who it was. Sound off in the comments if you remember. And now Sia. Now, Sia didn't really go into any details, but I think she said this in support. And you might think, well, why didn't they speak up sooner? Let me tell you why. First of all, this type of stuff can take years to uncover. I'm still uncovering what a relationship many of the relationships I've had in my life, what they did to me, and I'm 36. Y'all, it's no joke. I am still figuring it out. And remember, many of us, we come from broken home, broken, bad situations. It's not like when we leave, we have a bunch of money. Typically, we have nothing. And so we don't have a lot of money to go get any good therapy or therapy at all. And on top of that, for the last 5-ish years, I've been fighting for really, it's been since 2012, but 2013, but it's been on and off So it was like the flare-ups were on and off then, and then about 2015 is when it just got, you know, to where it was unmanageable, like my health issues. So it takes time to realize what's happened. It takes time to heal. And then it takes time, once you have dug in and done enough work, to get that strength to want to come forward and say something. And that's why, as I was, you know, having to go through the physical illness and, you know, going through the period of not knowing what it was and fighting for my life, during that period, a lot of issues came to the surface for me on how did it get here? And, you know, my body was messed up. I have a messed up body, but there were a lot of things that added to it, and so many things came to light. And that's one of the reasons they was so big on talking about Onion, you know, Greg at the time, and the story, because that's the stuff I wasn't covering in myself. And I really wanted to speak up and educate people and show women, like, these behaviors aren't okay, and don't allow this to happen to you. Don't put yourself down the path I did only because you're not aware. I want to be another voice that raises awareness to help people, you know, be able to see these things so they can have more peace in their life. And I'm really happy that they've spoken up. I'm glad they've spoken up. And I also pray that Shia gets help. But more than that, I pray that the girls get help too. The other thing, guys, is it's so common to have things happen to women in relationships with men. It's so common, we don't really think about it. The other day I had a flashback from when I was 17. I was dating a guy, and we got into a fight. I was driving, in fact he was driving my car, and he got mad at me, and I said, I want to go home and I need some space. And he said, not if I wreck your blanking car. He turned the steering wheel. We went into somebody's grass. We almost hit a house. I was scared. I got out of the car. I tried to run. He caught up with me a block later. He got me back into the car, put me in the car, locked the doors, screamed and cried at me, got into the house, went upstairs. He went upstairs with me. This is when I was, you know, in high school, living with my mom. We both went to sleep, woke up, he left, and we had to act like nothing happened. Because this is what we are programmed to do as women. It is, it was something that, I don't know if I blocked it out. It was just something I didn't really think about, and that came up, and I'm like, that's. Had another story when I was 16, a different guy. I mean, it was amazing when the movement came out. It opened a Pandora's box in me of how many things have happened to me. And yes, there are things I can own up to. There are behaviors. You know, I could be very overly flirtatious when I was younger. That's a whole nother psychology, something I've had to learn about. But at the same time, to me, that's kind of the argument, well, you know, be careful what you wear. I should be able to be, you know, flirtatious with people if I want to. Not that I'm, you know, that's something I keep in check now. It's something I understand more about. But you should be able to be flirtatious and not be scared for your. And you know, and you might think, well, why didn't you tell people? Why didn't you say that? Well, they wouldn't care if I did. For instance, long story short, I had issues with one of my classes, and I went to a counselor, and no joke, she said, your skirt's a little short. Do you think that's the reason that's happening? And it had nothing to do with my clothing or any physical type of thing like that. And I was just like, what? Like, it was a very different time that we grew up in. And I'm really glad, I really hope the young women that are growing up understand their worth, understand this is not okay to be treated this way. I really hope they understand that, and I'm so happy women are raising their voices. It takes time for many women to uncover these behaviors and see it's not okay, because we've been so programmed and so conditioned about how worthless we are. Just the fact that we've grown up in a culture that, it doesn't as much now, but when I was younger, idolizes women having eating issues, was kind of idolized. They called it the heroin chic look. You know, everybody looking so thin that you've come out of, and that was expected of you. So, and I'm sorry, I know some of these things you can hear kind of me be repetitive in videos, but it's because I'm so passionate about this. And I want as many women to know as much as possible. You are worthy. You are beautiful. You should not let anybody mistreat you. These behaviors aren't okay. You deserve love. You deserve support, and you deserve health. Health is another big one because we don't care about women's health in this country, which again, to me, is about part of the whole system. So my heart goes out to FKA, and it also goes out to Shia. And I hope FKA, if you guys want, let me know in the comments if you'd like me to kind of continue to update you guys on this, because I would very much like to. I'd very much like to kind of tell you guys what's going on, if there's more updates within this legal case, because I find this, when I say fascinating, it's concerning. It's information I think people should be aware of. I would also love to hear from Shia what he thinks, where he says a lot of it's not true. Well, what parts? And can you really say what's not true because of the type of issues you were having? Would your memory be impaired? Very interested, because it does sound like there's some things he owns up to, others we just don't know. We just don't know. And it's hard because people say, well, you need to have evidence. Some people know how to be physical and not leave a bruise and not leave a mark. There's so many things people don't understand about this, and men feel entitled to overpower women. Not all the time, but guys, I'm telling you, the majority of my relationships have been like this, and most of the women I know have had at least a couple of these. Almost every man I know has never had to have an issue with a woman getting physical. We were just deemed, because everybody dismisses us and our health and our issues so much, and when it finally bubbles up to the surface, I've been talking about this with my Trisha Paytas videos and how she operates. Things bubble up to the surface, and then you react, and then all of a sudden you're... Well, maybe if we weren't dismissed, maybe if we're a society that knew how to deal with our emotions and told women that your feelings and your experiences are valid, and we all had an understanding of how to deal with our emotions in a healthy way, that wouldn't happen. But of course, if that was commonplace in society, we would make better choices, and in making better choices, we're not in a state of desperation making bad choices. Thus, people at the top can't profit off of us, in my opinion. But with every breath I have on this planet, I'm going to continue to work towards helping people with health, with fairness, with equality, in the best ways that I can, as much as I can. Okay, guys, if you like this video, sound off. Tell me what you think in the comments. Please give me a big thumbs up, like the video. If you like this kind of content, subscribe and hit notifications so you can know when I upload. And yeah, I'm really curious to know what you guys think. I know this is kind of a bit of a darker video, but I think these are important topics to bring up. I think these are important things to know, and I would just like to detail this to you guys. So yeah, I think from here I'm gonna go. If you want to find me on my stimulus channel, where I'm helping people find stimulus money in your areas, or kind of detailing all that news, so make sure and go to Katie's Insight. So subscribe and hit notifications, because if money comes out in your area, I want to make sure that you can have access to it quickly, because some of these programs you have to apply for. The early bird gets the worm, they run out of funding. I want to make sure that you get it. And check out the other videos. Let me know what you think. Okay, guys, take care until the next video. I'm sending everybody so much love and lots of hugs and mwah, kisses. Bye, guys.